I'm itchy as fuck in my back. Sorry.
I need a fucking chiropractor because I forgot. Like, this is my work chair that donated to my room, so this is the one that gave me back problem. This is my life now.
This is my life. I'm really itchy. I have no idea. Every time I record, I'm like super itchy.
Got like rabies or fleas or some shit.
I know.
It's like Peacemaker's helmet just gives you scabies.
Right. So so how did you enjoy Love, Death, and Robots?
I didn't even watch it yet.
Well, we got a review of that coming out soon, so probably by like Tuesday, everyone. We'll have like a review of that. So,
Mhm.
and
How many
also,
episodes is it?
huh? Oh, I'm not too sure. I'm
Uh,
hoping like a lot more than last season.
mm.
Because last season was like pretty short, compared to the first one.
It was like 8 episodes or something, right?
Yeah, and then also I wanted to make mention to the Doctor Strange episode. We will be releasing it as well, probably by either tomorrow of this recording, or probably by like Monday or something. It just depends, when we can get this recording ready to
Mm.
post. So I
Yeah,
hope
we've
everyone's
been
doing
we've
good.
been having some technical problems on our end.
Yeah, yeah,
But so far, I mean, we're trying to get them through, but we're trying something different this weekend. We're gonna
yeah,
look into different streaming platforms
yeah,
for our podcast. So hopefully, if all the kinks are worked out, we'll try to get as much content out on time as we can.
yeah.
But also, we're going to be guests on friend of ours podcast. If you guys remember, Jerome, uh, his podcast Black Cage just released. He was a member of our Cowboy Bebop
Hmm.
review episode. So now he's got his own podcast, and we are excited to be guests on his show. So we will, of course, drop a link in this video if you guys want to check it out to his podcast and his socials. So definitely check it out. But yeah, so Akram, how you doing? I know you just watched Halo. You just finished it. Any initial thoughts before we get into the review, or
Um,
literally?
it's it I get what they were trying to do, but I think they kind of like it was too hazy, or muddled. I keep saying that word too, actually, which is
Mm,
funny, but I just think they tried to emphasize more on like just character arcs, rather than like the bigger picture. And Halo's like mostly about the bigger picture, so that's why like a lot of fans are crossed. Because it doesn't really feel like Halo. I think all the actors in this show is like great. I just think that
mm-hmm.
the way how they like plotted this course of like introducing this narrative was off. It didn't really match the whole thing about Halo. So yeah, I think that was the main problem I had with it. It kind of felt like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it felt like a little bit like CW, sometimes it felt like a little bit like those weird Netflix sci-fi
Sci-fi and
shows.
like original
Yeah,
like show,
sci-fi original, like Sharknado.
right?
Like, but I
It's
mean,
weird because like I haven't played Halo in a long time, and I remember most of the lore, but I don't know. It feels like weird like watching this show because it feels like so disconnected.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know if that's just like the showrunners because of them, or it's just I don't
the
know what it is.
forerunners. No, yeah,
Right.
it was definitely the showrunners. I mean, it had like a really difficult start to take off with the series. Since the very beginning. Like, I remember I was in middle school when I first heard that they were gonna do like a movie. Neil Blomkamp was involved. Steven Spielberg was involved to produce. And really Xbox, they messed it up on their part.
Mm-hmm.
They were like too cocky at the time. And finally we got it here, because obviously Showtime and Paramount Plus. So but I really think they messed it up. I think it was really the showrunners' fault. I don't think it was like anyone else's fault. I think it was the showrunners, and then with the writing team that they had, they
Mm-hmm.
went about it the wrong way, unfortunately. So,
You had a really interesting idea. I think you should share with everybody
oh,
about like
okay.
how you would have done the show.
Well, yeah, I honestly would have. Well, what I would have done, I would have paid more close attention to the games, and I think that's what everyone's looking for. And I think if you wanted to show more of Master Chief's humanity, like, I like that scene where like he's in person and he's seeing people. But what I would have done was I would have tied more things closely to war, and also I would have added a spinoff. So Nathan Fillion's character from Halo ODST, I think would have
Mhm.
been a great spinoff because he is a part of the team from I believe Halo 5 Guardians. I think he
Mhm.
joined John Locke, and so I think that would have been a great introduction and expand on the lore, the military of the Haloverse, and I think eventually make him into a Spartan.
Mhm.
Um, I think if they want to make this the new Mandalorian for like Paramount Plus, there's a lot of spin-offs, and you could probably do that because Nathan Fillion's like a very funny and likable guy. I think he's
Mhm.
currently in a show like a NBC or something. It's like a cop or whatever. So I don't think he's really busy at the moment. So I think
I
he
almost said Brooklyn Nine-Nine for a
Brooklyn
minute.
Nine Nine. Well, this show
Well, he
felt like
was
Brooklyn Nine
in
Nine.
yeah, basically. Space Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, I mean that's
Reach
what
99.
that's what I would have done. I think if you wanted to show because at times the show kind of felt like it was like Halo 5 Guardians where like you didn't show much of Master Chief and when you did it was very like cryptic, everything was like a
Mhm.
mystery and that's fine. He's trying to discover himself, but I felt like
Mhm.
he could have gone about it a different way, and I felt like, love interests and stuff where we'll talk
Yeah.
a lot more about that in this review. So
Did you ever watch Red versus Blue, the series?
I and Machinima, right? I was like, in
Yeah,
Machinima? No, I never did.
from Rooster Teeth.
I know. Oh, Rooster Teeth. No, I never did. That's old. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I used to watch it when I was younger. It's like it's kind of like a parody. I don't know
Mhm.
if it I don't remember if it I think it does take place in the Halo universe, but there's a lot of like interesting plot lines that they play with, and I think they should have actually looked into that.
Mm.
Um, because actually they go into like some of the lore of Halo even more than the games actually.
Yeah.
But it's also a parody, so it's meant to be like comedic too. But
Well, that's the thing about this show. It like strayed away far from I guess the Halo community in general. Because look, that's Rooster Teeth that did it. I felt like they could have added a lot more references or Easter eggs to like the Halo community in general in the games, rather than just to. It feels like I kind of feel bad for the show because it feels like it's so like lonely, and especially the bad reviews. It's
mhm,
like so far from like what everyone loves about Halo. And so you need that community. Halo has a huge community, especially multiplayer
huge
community.
community,
The only
yeah.
Easter egg they have is just going in first person sometimes, which was great. I mean, it kind of reminded me of that Doom movie with Carl Urban and The Rock, where they went into first
Oh yeah.
person. But I thought it was cool, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Cursed. I mean, like video game adaptations are cursed, man. Like they're either really good or they're just like trash. And there's only like a few like video game adaptations that I feel like have been I wouldn't even say successful. I just feel like watchable. Like the was it the new Uncharted movie that came out? Like it wasn't bad per se, but
No.
like I don't know. I just it was watchable in my opinion.
Well, it depends also on the studio that brought those games. Like if you did like now games are more complicated with making stories, especially like for example, The Last of Us or Uncharted even. Like those
Hmm.
stories felt like basically like a movie, had a lot of character depth in it too. And even like the new like Doom game doesn't have like a lot of character depth, but there's a lot of lore. So I feel like now
Hmm.
probably making an adaptation of those possibly is easier to like from game to screen, except I don't know why they kind of went down the route. It kind of felt like Uncharted was like Michael Bay-ish sometimes, but
Hmm.
like with here, yeah, I think they should have debied up on lore even more. There you go, there's some
I
rhymes
would
for
have
you.
loved to see it as like an anthology series. I think they did do that because I remember
Yeah,
there was like an animated anthology series
yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah,
But I think
yeah.
that works so much better instead of trying to retell a story that we're all familiar with.
Hmm.
Like you said, like we could go into like different characters, or like invented characters even,
Yeah,
and just see like their point, like their different perspectives. Because I did like seeing like the different perspectives, because mainly like when you're playing the game, it's mainly just like Chief's point of view, but we never see like the colony's point of view, right? Or like the Covenant, or like what their side of it is. So you,
yeah.
you could have expanded it more like an anthology series and just see like what the war was like, you know?
Oh yeah, they could have honestly. I think the show would have been better off like kind of imitating the show Black Summer, which is weird to compare it to, but like I'm sometimes weird like that. But like in Black Summer, each character, it's a zombie show, but like each character
Mhm.
has their own kind of story arc, and they kind of meet up later on. But it takes a really long time for them to meet up somehow. And if you do that, but like make it not coincidental, it's just because of what's happening in the universe or whatever. I think you could do something like that. I think that'll match too. Like for example, if you make a story arc on the Arbiter, and it kind of goes into the Covenant, and then and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden they meet up later. Master Chief meets up with him, or Halsey, and like give some more insight. Like I think that'll be a lot better to cover more ground for the Halo series. Because and then again, you have to keep in mind there are people who haven't played Halo, but I feel like now the time that we're living in, this type of culture is becoming more relevant to everyone's lives, and there's so many videos out, and it's so easy to find this origin of this and that. So I feel like they have to kind of step away from the people who don't know, and kind of trust them that if the show's good enough, they'll probably try to do some more research, or some friend of theirs will tell them something. And I think Marvel's doing a great job at that as well. That's honestly what they should have. There's so many approaches they could have gone with the show,
Mhm.
especially they had so many years to go about this. And I think, in my opinion, I think that they kind of they failed. So
They dropped the bag in my opinion. Like
yeah,
they definitely should have went more into research and
yeah,
I was that's why I was kind of pissed like when they said like the creators never like played the games or anything, but like you could have like had consultants or like had like the original creators come in, just to maybe expand on it a little bit, but I
yeah.
don't know. But these are some great points, and I can't wait to dive into this review. So without further ado, guys, get right into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast with Dylan and Akram. This is our Halo Season 1 review. We have just watched episode 9. So now we are getting into the season as a whole. We wanted to do episode by episode reviews for this, but unfortunately our schedules conflicted. So for today, we're just going to look back at the series as a whole and then just give you guys our overall thoughts. So you heard a little bit about what we had to say for it, but now we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. So Akram, how did you feel? What did you take away from this series as a whole?
I think it was more of a character exploration of Master Chief, and it was their way of trying to add a stronger humanity to him as well. And I felt like, in essence, that's more realistic than the games, where like he's just like basically a one-sided character. He's just this badass character. As opposed to what we were talking about earlier, how video games kind of evolve into more of like they try to focus more on narrative as well. So Halo Infinite, he became like a father figure to the new version of Cortana. So that's in a way of adding humanity. But here they could have went about it a different way. And I think it was just I always say muddled because it really was just all muddled with all these side characters that weren't really important at the end of the day if you think about it in retrospect. So I think it it has like a strong uh the CGI. It feels, grand in scale, which I'm glad about. The CGI
Mhm.
could be a lot more better. I mean, it's made for a streaming platform. But then again, you have Moon Knight, you have all those other shows that have like really strong CGI. So, all in all, I think it's like a so-so type of show, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the fans or the naysayers were right in the beginning, like, oh, this is gonna be ass, and
Mhm.
and it basically kind of was. So, but yeah, enough of that. What do you think?
I kind of have to agree with the fans on this. I usually give the benefit of the doubt. I try to stay open minded when I start a series, but I mean, the first episode started off strong,
Yeah.
and then it kind of became a different show altogether. So I had expectations for the show to be as close to the games as possible. I know they wanted to diverge a little bit and create their own canon. Um, but it's kind of like they're reinventing the wheel in a bit, and we've seen movies like or TV shows like that where they try to uh I guess rewrite the script basically, and it sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But for this show, it felt very awkward, and I know I did like certain moments from each episode, but there were like you said, there were certain characters like that just like I don't know like they tried to give too much emphasis and it took away from Chief a little bit. Like I really wasn't a fan of Kwan Ha, like her arc. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it really didn't achieve anything, and I don't even think she's in the games. Um, then again, like I said, like I did like the different perspectives of like seeing like the colonizers on like the different planets, and even in the games, like the UNSC is like very like controversial, like the way and like their methods, like they got that right, like the way that they perform. Like I remember like the insurrection wars, took place in the games and stuff before the Covenant War happened. So there is like that public opinion of like the UNSC, like they're very like they're almost like the Empire from like Star Wars in a way. Like people see them as like like tyrannical. Um, so I did think they got that right from like a different view, but they just went so much into like politics and
Yeah.
um morality that it kind of took away from the story a bit because Halo is a franchise based on war, and I kinda want to see more of that because we only got 2 episodes where he's really fighting the Covenant.
Yeah.
And well, technically 3 episodes, like, towards the end, but and then, like, even the Covenant, the way they looked, like, I wasn't, like, a big fan. I kinda wanna see more because we never saw the Arbiter, and he is such, like, a pivotal character in the franchise, so I'm kinda mad that they omitted him from the series. I mean, you could say, like, they're probably saving him for maybe a season 2, but it would have been nice to maybe see him, like, as a cliffhanger, like, at the end of episode 9, maybe, like, we get,
Right.
like, a hint of, like, what's to come, or, like, maybe, like, like, bits of, like, the Flood or, like, the Forerunners, but I don't know what to say, but, like, there were certain characters I did like Kai. I did like her transformation
Mhm.
over the series, and, like, Miranda, I thought, like, I think her role started getting bigger towards the end. I think Halsey, like, the way they portrayed her, she is, like, such a sociopath in this show, and
Yeah.
I think in the games, she kinda had they don't go too much into her in the games, but, like, I remember there was, that one, like, cutscene where they're, like, going into, like, her backstory, how she started with the Spartan program and stuff, so but I think, like, the actress who played her did a really good job. Soren was kinda just, like, there. He was just kinda like this, like he almost felt like a Star Wars bounty hunter or
Mm.
something. It's so weird because like, I kept thinking he was like Dave Chappelle in, like a giant, like, armored vest or so it looks
Big
so
body
weird,
ass.
like we were talking earlier, like yeah, like big body
He
ass,
has
like
a
the
huge
costuming.
rack.
I know, like, probably like double Ds. But, I don't know, what character stood out to you in this show?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Kai's character. I think, yeah, she's an original invention for the show. I really enjoyed her character a lot. I felt like her and Master Chief had a lot in common.
Mhm,
they're trying to discover themselves in different ways. I would have liked to seen the other Spartans kind of like how their personality would be like without their emotions being suppressed.
mhm,
I honestly I enjoyed Cortana as well because that's the original voice actress as well, and she just started to be alive. I felt like uh, the way how they went about her is a little weird, like the way how she's just in his head rather than the helmet. I mean, they did that again because they knew, oh, he's gonna take off his helmet a shitload. So probably in season two, he's probably gonna keep the helmet a lot more because what happened. But yeah, I really enjoyed. I think honestly, my favorite characters in this was uh, Kai and obviously Chief. Everyone else, I don't know. I felt very distant
Didn't they
from.
change the team too? Because it was
It was
originally
different
blue
people, yeah.
team. It was blue team in the games, and they changed it to silver team. I
Yeah,
think silver team was John Locke's team before, right? Or is it different?
I don't recall. I plead I don't recall, like, Amber Heard's Johnny Depp's trial, I don't recall. I mean,
Overruled, Your Honor.
yeah, I know.
Objection.
Oversay. I mean, I said oversay, hearsay. Yeah, I don't know. I think this whole thing was just messed up with the amount of characters that got too much attention. I have to say though, I did like that blonde lady, that blonde chick, that she
Oh,
was.
McKee.
Yeah, I did like her a little bit more towards the end of the show, because I'm glad she kind of found like some humanity in the same way that kind of John did find his humanity as well, and they kind of found it in each other. I mean, that's I think what they were trying to achieve.
Mhm,
They were just trying to achieve something where like everyone's finding their humanity, and then also it's like to protect humanity. And there's opposing sides like Halsey saying, well, humanity is like bad. They're very
mhm.
selfish. So I think that was the overall theme from the show. But when you have the thing about Halo is the main character really is like the lore. There's so much going on. There's so much history, and it's grand scale. Like who made the Halo rings, right? That's like one of the worst weapons in the whole entire universe. The Halo rings, and we didn't get any insight on into that. I know it's like supposed to slowly build up to that, but I think it would have helped the show a lot if it kind of followed like the games, where like we like the Arbiter, but we don't know the Arbiter's like grandmama or something like that. Like we just know the Arbiter and what he's going through at the moment. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, I think that was really the downfall of it. It was just too CW at times. I think.
How did you feel? Because you mentioned this earlier. Pablo Schreiber. They showed his face a lot in this show,
Hmm.
and I almost felt like they didn't even need to put his helmet on because
Yeah.
there were so many scenes where he took his helmet off, and I know like in the games, like Chief never takes his helmet off,
Right.
so that was a big controversial point from the fans. That he showed his face a lot. So, how did you feel about? Did you feel like that added to the humanity aspect, or did you kind of want to see like more of him with his helmet on?
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the games. Chief is all about his duty, right, to the world, and here, Chief was basically, it's there's a caveat because like he takes off his helmet, and I feel like that really helps people to see that even without his emotions being suppressed, he actually is this powerful man and this guy who respects his duty, and in a way he's like more clear-sighted, like he sees through Halsey's schemes and he kind of knows what he has to do. And so he kind of made the sacrifice at the end as well. I don't know if he would do that, like being emotionally suppressed. So by taking off the helmet, I think to the character it didn't really make a difference. Now, the game, he doesn't take off his helmet because he's strictly like all duty, and so I think that that was like a physical representation of that, or at least like a visual representation of that. I'm sorry. So here, um, I think looks wise, I didn't like that he took off his helmet too much. But at the same time too, then Pablo Schreiber would just be a voice actor. He wouldn't even be in the armor at all. So it's like it's like there's like a caveat for that. It's like weird, because if you're doing a
Hmm.
show, how would you approach some things from the game? And I think that was one of those things where they like had a lot of discussion about, and that's why Cortana was implanted into his brain rather than just the helmet. Because if he just had the helmet all the time, it'll be really hard to uh, go about that story arc. But then again, look at the Mandalorian as well. So they could have just took off his helmet later on, maybe. Um, so I don't know. It's 50 for me, Your Honor. What do you think?
I don't know. It's just like he took his helmet off so many times in the show. It's just like I felt like at that point, like he didn't even need to wear it.
Yeah.
I think I can see why the fans had a problem with it because I think we're so used to that version of Chief of him being the soldier, like the first person shooter. But I think at the same time, when you're writing for a show, you have to kind of also treat it like he's his own character and not just like this singular machine. But I don't know. I just like I don't know. I really don't know. But his relationship with Cortano, I feel like was way different from the games.
Did you like her though? Did you like that
She
interpretation of
felt like
Cortana?
fucking Alexa for me. It's
When you
like
say
just,
that,
"Hey,
maybe my things
Alexa,
would come up.
bring up my shield," or some shit. Like, I
Right.
don't know, like, she was so awkward and, like, that
Mm.
scene where, like, she was being created and shit and that weird, like, assistant guy came over,
Ugh.
it was, like, so cringy. Because originally, I think she was an AI for the Pillar of Autumn in the games too, so it was weird how, like, they changed her origin, but I don't know, I didn't like her design too much because. She looked like the CGI for her just
Yeah.
looks so weird, and even like less weirder than the Covenant, actually, in my opinion. Um, I don't know. She like every time she smiled, it was so creepy.
Mhm.
And then that weird scene, like we were talking about, like the sex scene, and she's just
Uh,
standing there watching was so weird. It's like when your pet is like watching, like you have like sex or something. It's like the weirdest thing. But I don't know. I wasn't like a fan of her. I think towards the end she got like a little more like towards the Cortana that we know. Like she
Mm.
got like more comfortable with Chief. But there were certain moments that was weird because like I remember the one scene where like he was trying to trap Halsey in that room
Oh
with the
yeah, that was a cool
gas.
scene though. I like that scene.
And then like yeah, like it shows a different like side of Chief. Like he's willing to I guess commit treason towards his allies
It's
to
treason
it's
then.
treason,
Oh.
right? um, but yeah, I guess like he was getting more comfortable because like he fucking hated her in the beginning. I was like, damn, he's like really shitting on her.
Mhm.
But then I guess like towards the end, like he got more comfortable. But apparently it was weird because like she can take over his body, and she did take over his body at the end. So how did you feel about that?
I found that really stupid, honestly. Because look, if you wanted to take off Master Chief's helmet that much, just put it as a fucking earplug, like
Right,
as a thing. Like
earbuds, like
y-
AirPods or some
I
shit.
mean, whatever. You could have just done that because I felt like the whole technology of her being a hologram and manifesting from this piece of metal inside his brain and being somewhere. I felt like the most fakest part was that for me. Honestly, it was like the most strangest thing. Um, but taking over his body, I also didn't understand as well. Because like if the guy is dying, well, I think he did that just to separate from that vision, I guess, right? From with the other girl. I
The
think
key.
like he was saying, Cortana, take over me, so he could like
Hmm.
separate from that vision that he was kind of stuck in, because she,
Yeah,
the
because
other,
he couldn't touch
yeah,
the artifact because
yeah,
of his memories. So the reason she took over was because she doesn't have any memories, basically.
yeah, and which in a way, I guess season two will kind of be like a little bit of exploration of like Cortana gaining humanity as well. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like funny because like then Chief and Cortana have like a lot in common. So this relationship will grow more, I guess. Um,
Hmm.
but the way how they're approaching things, I'm like thinking, oh, is Chief maybe gonna be like kind of like Cortana wants to be sexual with Master Chief later on?
Oh
Like I
no.
well, yeah, it's true. Like I'm thinking about like because okay, so Halsey doesn't have this sexual like demanding reaction towards Chief. I felt like sometimes like she was a little bit jealous. So she kind of seemed it's not like she thinks Chief is like her son, but I think it's more so like
Well, she said she's like, "You will have what I never have with him."
or
Or,
unless or that
or
is
she said
weird.
that to McKee. She was like, she said like you have something with John that I will never have, right? So it's basically like his
That's
love.
pretty weird. That's
Yeah.
that's that's weird. Because I was thinking at
So
first I was thinking, what if it's like she thinks that like she doesn't like humanity, so what if she thinks he's a piece of property?
hmm
Something like that. That is really weird, and now I'm thinking about it, like, because Cortana looks like Halsey, they're
right.
definitely gonna be banging in season 2,
Oh
or at
no.
least some form in, like, the Soul Stone, they were, like, in the Soul Realm,
The soul stone.
and Thanos was just there.
What did it cost? Everything.
Everything yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes, everything.
Right.
It's like, it's weird. They're making it too complex. Like, I get the whole thing, but, like, the bigger picture doesn't really need that, you know? And so, I don't know. I now that you said that, because I didn't even come to that realization of, like, Halsey feeling that way. I thought he was just like an object to her.
They tried a lot to explore relationships
Right.
in this show, and I think if it were any other show, it might have been interesting, but if
Yeah.
because it was Halo and it's so centered on war,
Right.
it kind of took away from the bigger picture, like you said. But I think it was interesting how they portrayed Halsey because like she's
Yeah.
very like narcissistic. Obviously, like she's a perfectionist.
She's
She
better
even said,
here. Yeah.
yeah, she's literally said like she'll sacrifice everything just for her perfect
Mhm.
vision of human evolution. And she cut ties with like her daughter and Captain Keys.
That was weird. That part was weird. 'Cause I
Yeah.
was like, there's no like so she really doesn't love her daughter. So it was weird how the daughter kind of like interacted with her. Like I wanted to see more backstory on that, I guess, if they really wanted to go down that route. Like the most important thing, like everything else felt like like it didn't really have to like have backstory. But that part I felt like was kind of awkward. Like there is no interaction between these two whatsoever. It's just like mentions.
Because they treated each other like coworkers, basically. It
Yeah, it
wasn't
was
even like,
awkward. Yeah.
yeah, it was like at least like Captain Keys and Miranda had like little like bonding moments, but like every time like she was with Halsey, it was kind of like I don't know, they were just like two characters. It's like in a
That's
room
what it
together.
was. Yeah, they
Like
wrote that in a script, 2
I could
characters.
not have like if you told me they were like mother and daughter, I would not have believed you.
I mean, even the father was like kind of and he looked a little bit more affectionate, but not really. It just felt weird. And I think her character is from the games. as well.
I
I
think
think
she
she
is.
dies in Halo 2.
I know Keys is from the games definitely.
Yeah.
I think she's also in the games too. But
But
yeah,
she
I
was a
think they
bitch here though. I didn't like her that much, to be honest.
who Miranda?
No, Keys, whatever, the girl. I didn't
What's
like her
Miranda?
that
Miranda
much
Keys?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't like a big fan of her
I
here.
I thought I thought she was all right. Like I felt bad for her actually because like she was getting snubbed at every left and right. Like just like she wanted more to do more for the UNSC, and then like her mom was like cock blocking her at every opportunity,
Mm,
just like to advance. Like, and you could tell like she wanted to like impress her mom in a way. Like she wanted to like show her like her potential, like she could do more. But then Halsey. I feel like John is the really like the prodigal son for Halsey in a way. Like she cares more if her definition of I guess love would be like for John if anything because she sees him as like the perfect like specimen. It's almost like Nazism in a way.
love makes you
Like,
do crazy
right?
things.
Life finds a way. But yeah, I think that was like interesting, like how she perceived John as more of like a son than her
Mhm.
own daughter in a way.
Mhm. That's very true. Yeah, great point.
hmm
Yeah.
But I don't know. There were other characters too. Like I like kind of fell flat for me. Like Parangox. I forget. I don't know how to say her name. Admiral Parangox.
Oh,
The
the
one that
late.
was
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she was a bitch too.
yeah.
That lady, yeah. She was like that archetypal. I think we're talking about the same person. That archetypal type of
Bureaucratic kind of
character.
like yeah.
Yeah, that always like something. There's a good solution, but like she's always no,
hmm
we can't do that because we have to
Right.
follow it by the book or something. Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
know.
I
I
mean,
didn't care.
I kind of liked her towards the end because at least everybody was on
Yeah,
the same side at
right.
the end. Because at the end, Halsey was doing some like fucking like crazy shit at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and then like I kind of wish we'd seen more of the Covenant in the show because like I feel like
yeah.
they made Halsey like the big villain of the show, and it kind of took away from the Covenant.
I think season 2 they're gonna double down on that. Especially, I mean, Halo 2 introduced the Arbiter. I think season 2 would introduce the Arbiter too. I think it makes sense.
hmm
And maybe they'll even show more culture and like because the Arbiter comes from kind of like a I believe I think he was like this because the Arbiter basically is like a suicide type of guy. In the games, he's supposed to like do something until he dies or
hmm
something. It's basically like a punishment. Um, I believe, right? I think that's how it was in the games. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like a he's basically like a suicide mission. Like
yeah,
that's his final act, I guess,
yeah.
of like
That
religious honor.
that match is more of like the war theme kind of like. I feel like
hmm
maybe they'll kind of go more so into like the Halo War theme esque that you were talking about earlier with the Arbiter, and
hmm
kind of like, since Master Chief is out the picture, then Master Chief gets reintroduced into this more badass character. I think that's the way how they could kind of save it. I don't know. Like, what if they made Arbiter kind of like the main character for a little while in season 2, to
I
give
just
us
hope they
more?
don't make like Makee the Arbiter. That'd be so stupid.
No, that would be really stupid.
I wish they don't. I hope they don't do
I
that.
don't think they will. I don't. Well, what did you think of Bokeem Woodbine's character in all this? Like, I
Oh, as
liked the little
Soren,
intro, huh?
as Soren. Yeah, I did like. I did
Sauron.
like the backstory because he. I
Yeah.
think he's supposed to be like he's supposed to show like the rebelliousness or like the fucked up shit that happens with the Spartan program. I don't know. He felt like such like a Star Wars like bounty hunter character.
He had a big body ass. Like, I really thought that was the stunt. Like, that jacket was so tight to
What the
fit
hell
on
happened
there.
with his arm too? Because his arm was all fucked up too. Like we never saw what happened with that.
Did they never really show that? Really? Yeah.
I don't remember them showing. I was like, holy hell! They look like he put the Infinity Gauntlet on or
That was a
some shit.
fucking
And that's
nasty ass arm.
right.
I was
I
like, damn.
was like,
Like,
oh shit.
and no, it's just his costume. I think, like, I bet in concept art it looked wild. Like, it looked great.
hmm
But like practical, everything that he looked even fucking comfortable walking, and like he had this holster for if any of you gun fanatics are big fans of like Rhino revolvers. That's basically like a
hmm
futuristic underbarrel revolver. Um, that shit was like literally like pretend this is my thigh. It was like right here, like a little stick thing, because they knew, oh, it's too hard for him to reach. It's like it's the most tightest clothes he could ever find on that colony planet, and he just got it.
hmm
It's so weird. I don't know why they did that. I really
And
don't.
it's weird because like he actually looked normal size as
Yeah, that's
opposed to
true.
John, because Spartan's supposed to be like huge, but like
Right.
actually like when there was moments where like he was like standing next to Quan, and he
Right.
actually looked like a normal sized human or some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they had his armor, it was like so like how was he moving so fast with that shit? Because that shit had to be like heavy as fuck, and he's
Yeah, a
like
lot of
doing
people
like
don't think about that, but, like, the Mjolnir armor is, like, really heavy.
yeah.
Sometimes when they walk, you could kinda hear it, like, from the other Spartans, which I liked,
Hmm.
but, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even I was confused by his whole, like, redesign,
Hmm.
as him in the colony, but
I
I like
thought
the colony, though, it was cool.
as a character, I thought he was interesting, like because I don't remember if we've ever had like pirates like in the I was gonna say Pirates of the Caribbean, Pirates of the Halo
Ooh.
universe.
No,
So
I don't think so, 'cause they were always concentrated on the bigger picture, for
right.
each game. That's the thing,
So
and
in a
that's what the
way,
show didn't
it
do.
kind of felt like Star Wars in a way, like these rebels or these
Right.
these bandits in a way. But I don't really. He didn't really achieve much by the end of
No.
the show. I really didn't know like what the purpose was
He was
like for
just
him.
there. It basically, I was scared because I thought Kwan's character would be that archetypal Daphne Keen's character from Logan or Grogu. I thought that
Hmm.
she would end up being like that and eventually she'll like kind of become a Spartan in her own way. I was scared. So when they separated, I felt like actually it would have been better if she stuck with Chief because, I hated that aspect. But when she separated from him, I did not want to see any of her character story whatsoever or
Cause she was
even,
so annoying. She kept like
yeah,
trying to like force this rebellion. Like she thought she was fucking like Leia Organa or some shit. Like
seriously.
the spark that will ignite the
The
the flames of the first
It's
whatever
about to
the fuck
become
this
Hunger
is.
Games. I know,
Right.
honestly, like and then when she was with Bokeem Woodbine's character, I so then I figured, "Oh, so he's gonna take over Master Chief's character and kind of, like,
As
guide
the
her."
fatherly role or
Yeah,
yeah.
but now all of a sudden she's like this prodigal daughter, and she's the protector, and I guess in a way Chief is as well, somehow. So they're kind of connected, like everything. It's just like everything out of sheer coincidence to me. It kind of is stupid, but I'm wondering what is your theory? Do you think her planet? Because we did see a little Easter egg of Little Spark coming out the well,
Mhm.
or what is it,
Guilty
Bad
spark.
Spark or whatever? Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think that's actually him, but why did he come out the well? I was thinking, what if her planet actually is, like a ring, but, like, it has, like
Like a forerunner
yeah, it's, like,
planet or
weird, like,
something.
I didn't unless that thing is, like, there just to be there, like, they somehow
Mhm.
managed to obtain it. I don't know, like, there's nothing in the lore, but, like, I'm
Well, I didn't
wondering.
understand the mystics.
I didn't understand
Like,
that either.
were they like a cult that worshiped the forerunners or something?
I don't I never seen that in the games. I don't know, that must
I
have
don't
been from
remember
the
them from the
books.
games. Yeah.
That must have been from the books, I don't know.
If honestly, like I'm telling you, like this whole show felt like a Star Wars like parody, just
Yeah.
like all these different like cults and like factions and shit.
Yeah.
Like even Vishnu's group, I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
they were like such like and every time he like Vishnu came on screen, I kept thinking he was like Gary Oldman from like the Book of Eli or some shit. Like
Like
the way he talked, it was so annoying because he thought he was, like, all poetic and like, he, like, used these
yeah,
big elaborate, like, dialogues and shit. I'm like, "Dude, you're just a fucking dude in a black jacket running a fucking, like,
yeah.
colony of, like, gas and shit."
That's the first time I seen that actor actually act that way too. I remember he was in Pacific
Mhm.
Rim.
Yeah,
He's always
Pacific
this
he's been
nerdy
in a lot of
character.
stuff. He's been in Torchwood, Doctor Who,
Oh.
yeah, like, Pacific Rim. So I've seen him before, and I think he's played villains in the past too, but, like, it was so weird seeing him, like, naked, like,
Oh,
in
yeah.
that sauna scene. It was so weird.
This show was wild, and this show was was trying to do something. I don't know. Maybe
I couldn't tell if they were trying to be PG or, like, mature. It was,
this
like, weird.
it was like a bipolar show. Like you felt
Right.
like good sometimes, how Borat says, the good
Hit or
time and
miss.
the shit time.
Right.
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Do you think this show warrants a season 2, honestly?
No, I don't think so. But I think that there's so much buildup towards this grand event that apparently will happen. I think in season two. So I think, and they already signed up for season two as well. You could tell there's a lot of money there, regardless of how the CGI may look. Uh, they shot in multiple locations. The costuming was, I think, really good. I think that alone probably warrants it, but it's sad enough to say that I guess sometimes money can buy you like some other things, and I think probably season two. Like they wouldn't go through all this work to just cancel it. and spend all this money. There was so much buildup over the years as well.
Well, I mean, look at Cowboy Bebop also, how much they put into that show, and then they got
Well,
canceled.
yeah, but there wasn't a much live action buildup as this literally like since I was in middle school. So like waiting for finally a live action adaptation, and let's
Mm.
not forget about Forward Until Dawn as well, or even the Halo 5 Guardians prequel TV series. Um, but I think that the story doesn't warrant a season two. But I think it's one of those things like Agents of Shield where like it's bad at first, but they put so much money and the studio behind it that they're like, we could make this a lot better in season two. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm actually really optimistic for what's to come.
I think they need to listen to the fans,
Yeah,
honestly. If they're gonna do a season two, which I doubt they will, but like you said, they put so much money into it, it's possible they could light a season two. But if they're gonna do a season two, they definitely have to listen to the fans and definitely do more research behind the games, and because there's a lot of reinvention, and sometimes it works out, but then most of the time it doesn't. So I think they really need to communicate with the fandom a little bit, because this show did not feel like Halo to me, to be honest. It definitely felt like, I don't know, like I was watching like a like a sci-fi original spin-off or something, like the Colony or some shit, but it definitely didn't feel like Halo to me. But that's just my opinion.
no, I agree completely. Yeah, it definitely was far from what we're all used to. They reinvented it with a lot of unnecessary elements, you know. So
So how would you rate this show?
our famous ratings now. I would rate it. I honestly, I'll just go from me personally instead of thinking of other people. I would rate it like about a 5 out of 10.
I would say 5 as
Yeah,
well. Yeah. I don't know, like some episodes, like I think the last episode maybe like caught my interest the most because so much was happening at one time.
that was better. That was the Halo
Yeah,
game. That was like better. Yeah,
right. They should have just did that
yeah.
instead, because there was some episodes where it was like all about the UNSC, and then there was like some episodes that were just all about like Madrigal and shit.
Right.
So I kind of want to see like different planets too, like in like what the UNSC like empire is like,
Well,
because
do the
we've seen like
spinoff.
different planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll just have to see. So that's our thoughts, guys. If you enjoyed this show, let us know. But can't wait to see what else is coming out this month. Obviously, we have good television coming
Yes.
with Obi-Wan releasing on May 27th. So we're going to be hyped to cover that. And like we said, we're going to be guests on our friend Jerome's podcast, Black Cage. So you can definitely check that episode out when it comes out. But thank you guys for sticking around. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also follow our Instagram pages as well for news and other discussions. But until then, guys, thank you for having lunch with us.
See you guys.